Sup world. So I just finished doing a 17.5-hour Demon Hunter only stream for season 28 PTR patch for the Altar of Reds. So there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Demon Hunter, but I'm going to focus on Natalya's. If you want the full overall story for Demon Hunters, just wait to check out from my Demon Hunter guide. I do one every single season. But for now, we're going to focus on Nats, as I know that's the set that got the rework and that's the set that everyone is the most interested in. So let's do a deep dive on that real quick. All right, so let's do a quick dive into the set bonuses and what the set really is. If it used to be a Reign of Vengeance set, it is now a Spy Trap set. They completely redesigned it. So the 2-piece, hitting an enemy summons a spy trap. If it is on your bar, your action bar, each spy trap detonation restores 1 discipline. The 4-piece is now basically a damage reduction, and it lasts for however long as many traps that is out. Generally speaking, you will almost always have a damage reduction given how this is played. And then the 6-piece bonus is spy traps deal 10,000% increased damage, and each consecutive blast from the detonated chain reaction will deal 10% more damage than the previous blast. So let's actually go into old runes real quick and do a little bit of testing here. So when it says on hit, or hitting an enemy spawn summons a spy trap, it actually really means that. So we're gonna go with unrune now. And so we're gonna jump over here and we're gonna spray 1 multi-shot. And boom, so we have 6 traps here right now. And if I was to shoot again, because the spy traps here says when a hatred spender is used, it will detonate all over traps and it will explode. Okay, so this means if I use the spender again, all the traps I previously planted will explode. So on hit, I cast, I get spy traps, and then I cast again, the other ones explode while hitting the other 2. So the projectile speed and stuff actually does matter in terms of how these spy traps are casted. However, there is a thing though, that there is a cap, okay? Meaning that you cannot go over 10 spy traps. So there's 10 spy traps on the ground, and no matter how many more spy traps you plant, it's just going to get rid of the previous spy traps. So there is a cap. It's going to be basically a chain detonation of a maximum of 10 traps for the most part, meaning you kind of can't go over the times 10 multiplier there for that. So even though you're hitting with the wide AoE skill, for the most part, you're going to only get a maximum of 10. So with that being said, what is the best way to be able to proc the traps knowing that information so far? So after much testing, Strafe tends to be do the best job with that because of the tick rate, because it will consistently spawn traps over and over again. So not only will Strafe spawn the traps on hit, it will also explode on hit. So this makes Strafe pretty much by far the best way to be able to lay the traps and proc the traps at the same time. So technically speaking, we do have another Strafe build. All right, so let's talk about the discipline part of this, because it also says on hit, basically, well, not on hit, sorry. When the spy trap detonates, it restores 1 discipline. So this allows me to be able to spam just my discipline spender as much as I want, as long as the traps are exploding, which again, Strafe is by far the best way to do so. But look at my discipline. Like, you know, if anyone's ever recall playing old school Nats in Diablo 3 vanilla, you knew that spy traps, not spy traps, but you knew that like Natalya's was basically a discipline set. So I like how the devs remembered that was a pretty important theme for Nats and allow us to apply here. So I can also do that. So I have infinite discipline. You can kind of play around with any discipline skills you go. So pretty intuitive and pretty neat for how this goes. So with that being said, I did do unrune spy trap just so therefore you can see what it looks like. But yeah, echoing blast was kind of the first thing we all went to at first, but what I've noticed from doing echoing blast is that the spy traps themselves is really small. Like the AoE blast is really small. As they're detonating and things, getting all the enemies to get hit by that chain detonation. It's really difficult to do and really not practical. So the best rune actually to use is lightning rod, because this can hit anywhere. And as you see, the zaps are going in between each other, and the distance of the zaps really don't matter as much. We can, oh, you see that right there? You see how the zaps are going from one to another? This pretty much gives you a very consistent 10 stacks of your 6-piece bonus here happening with Nats. So you don't have to worry about if the enemies are running over the traps or not, because everything is going to zap in between each other regardless of the distance that happens. This makes lightning rod definitely by far the best rune to use for speed farming as well as solo pushing. The only disadvantages that lightning rod has versus some of the other runes is the fact that it's a single target, because it zaps one enemy at a time. So it's kind of akin to God 6 in terms of an impale. But regardless of that, lightning rod is still just by far the most consistent and best way to proc the skill. The thing I think that I find interesting about this whole ordeal is that since the lightning rod bounces up to, will chain up to 3 enemies, guess what does the same thing? You know how many people love the strafe impale demon hunter from current season with the sanctified crucibles? Well, we played lightning, right, which is ricochet, which bounces up to 2 additional enemies with ricochet. So I find it quite interesting that the devs has designed this to feel and almost be almost exactly like that build from the current season that everyone loves so much. So kudos to the devs for, I believe, designing that to be that way for us to be able to have something to play, right? That's very similar to that. With that said, I'm going to show you my setup. So I'm going to actually put the whole thing together, and there's many different ways you can do it. There's a broken way to do it. So if you look on PTR leaderboards, the Shadow 2 bonus is happening with the melee weapon. It's not supposed to work, as you can see here on the screen, but unfortunately on the PTR it does. It's broken. It's going to get fixed. Blizzard has acknowledged it. So this is my setup here and what I will actually go with. So we're going to start off with the actual supporting legendaries of this build. You have 3 of them. The Demon's Demise gives you 200% increased damage, and it also explodes again, or it would damage the enemies again after a second. It's a pretty big multiplier. You got the Traggles, same ordeal, 200% more damage. And you also get the effect of the scatter rune, so that helps you get more traps quicker. Then you got the Chanted Bolter, which is another 200% increased damage multiplier, and it also adds a taunt to your traps. So you definitely need these 3 no matter what you really do. I went with Captain Crimson because I'm actually not using Dawn with this setup. I realized with the tree circles and other things and the shrines and stuff that I end up getting quite a bit of cooldown randomly anyhow. So getting perma vengeance without actually using Dawn has actually been kind of pretty easy to do with that. Also, Captain Crimson in the tree circles gives you more damage, so Captain Crimson's really nice to have. The Nas is here, Mental channeling because I'm strafing, of course, Wraps because of course I'm using a generator as well as focus and restraint, so there's synergy there for it. And then of course this 5-piece Nats. As you look in the cube, I have the Warrior Ring to kind of make all of that work. Going to the gems, there is the Taeguk. Taeguk is, well, because I'm strafing, so I'm using Taeguk here. Bang at the Trap, and Zaze because I just want to maximize as much damage as I possibly can. You don't have to go this route. This is just an idea for you. Skills that I like to use if I'm doing speed farming, I like to go with Chain Gang is going to be in all of my builds here, but if I'm speed farming, Chain Gang, this is going to allow me to be able to proc both Trapped and the Cold or Weak passive. Strafe, Drift, and Shadow just because, well, it's pretty speedy. The other strafes ones don't really matter too much. Shadow Power, Shadow Glide for speeds because I want to be a little bit faster. I can spam the crap out of it and it works really well. Spy Trap, Lightning Rod, I mentioned that earlier. Well, that's pretty important. I actually go with Cow Traps, and I think you saw me do a little bit of that earlier. but I can spam cow traps, bait the trap underneath my feet the entire time and just continue to keep spamming over and over and over. That actually gives me 10% crit chance, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you combine it with the fact that you're dual wielding and you're missing 10% crit chance because you're dual wielding and you got a lot of crit damage, that 10% crit chance really adds up and really becomes monumental. So I like having it on my bar because it's, in my opinion, probably one of the best damage buffs you can actually get on your bar outside of, well, for the most part, Vengeance. Okay. Then of course, Vengeance Dark Heart, because you want damage reduction and get up as much as possible. Here I go with all the damage passives. If I want to go super speeds, I will get rid of one of these passives. If you want more speed, in my opinion, probably just get rid of bait the cow traps and go with smoke screen. But yeah, I've done really well with this particular setup, and this is probably where I'm going to go. I'm not going to mention all the different combinations. I mean, Guardians, what you want with Nat's Ring and COE, with all guilds as a possibility. You can get rid of Nat Slayer. Is really not that important. I know you see Spike Traps damage on it, but it's really not that important. You can do Dawn instead and do well. You can even go N6 God 4. I don't really recommend. There's really not many benefits behind it, but you can do it if you want. You can do N6 UE4, which gives you 60% damage reduction and 60% more damage in general. So that's an option. There's many different ways you can kind of build and set this up. So it's something you're going to have to play with. And if you really want to see those in depth, you're gonna have to check out my full Demon Hunter guide whenever I release that for season 28. But in the meantime, I'm gonna show you a gameplay clip of a speed run so you can kind of see what it looks like. Hope you enjoy.